Hey, Sharita Washington, part 3, Because of God, My Testimony. This is about my book. I left off in part 2 where my mother used to take me to school with her because she was a school teacher. So one time I stood up on one of the desks and started dancing, in front of the class, or just being a little silly kid making the classroom laugh. My mother came into that room looking at me. With that look, I sat at my desk like I was melting. I went down real slow. Oh, like I was melting. And the classroom was still laughing at me. Kids don't have that now. The stare look. She used to pinch us too. And tie those 3 anal switches up and tear our butt up. Especially me. I used to cry to go back with my dad. When my dad gets a little tipsy, he gets into his feelings about how he raised me. I don't know what he remembers, but I remember him being the best dad. I was crazy about my dad. My dad hasn't whooped me but one time that I can remember. And I just want to bring up, y'all, it's just Father's Day just passed. Because my dad really feel like he wasn't a good father. And none of us is perfect, but I don't remember him being a bad father at all. But Father's Day, I called him to wish him a happy Father's Day. I said, Happy Father's Day, Dad. I ain't no father. And I felt like he really meant that. So I just want to tell my dad, quit thinking it. Like, nobody get a handbook to be a parent. Like, whatever you thought you didn't do enough of, it's okay. My kids might hold some type of resentment with me, but I do get along with my kids, and they bring up a lot of good memories. Because, I don't know, I'm going to probably talk about this in the book. I remember one time being, I don't know, I was a child still playing with dolls. I didn't get anything for Christmas. And that just stuck with me, because I just made sure as an adult that, man, we used to put layaways in back then. I was putting a layaway in October. I made sure my kids never had to feel that way. And to piggyback on when me and my daughter was talking about Christmases, I believe that's why we got on that subject about how Mom surprised us that time. But things happen. So, I want to get back to where I said my dad never whooped me. Amen. Let's see. I remember him being the best dad. My dad hasn't whooped me. But one time that I can remember, I was in the 9th grade driving my grandmother Sia car to school. And me and my friend and cousin then, Kim Oliver, were planning to skip school again. And I would just like to say, rest in peace to Kim. She's no longer here. I'm glad I got to visit her before she passed on, like a couple of days before, because that would have hurt me so bad, y'all, because all while since I've been driving trucks now for 4 years, and Kim had cancer. But my grandma used to see her at the store in town. My grandma said whenever she saw her, even before I started driving trucks, I used to live in Memphis. I just went out here. Kim would ask about me. Because me and Kim had this little inside joke, y'all. Because back then when we used to skip, I wasn't really no weed smoker. But Kim was. But I would hit it. And so, if you're not really a smoker, you're going to be zooted. However, we just have fun. We just ride around. That was the thing to do. I still just like to ride around, But we pulled up at this store. I don't know what Junior Food Market called now. Back then it was called Junior Food Market. I still call it Junior Food Market. And they got the best chicken still today. People now call it crack chicken because you'll get addicted to it. But I don't know, me and Kim didn't really have no money on us that day for whatever reason. But Kim had a lot of change in her cup holder. But we pulled up to Junior Food Market. And baby, we looked at each other and looked at that chain. We were like this fight. It was just so funny, y'all. That's just something we had forever. So when I went to visit Kim passed, I think in October, because her birthday in October too. And I brought that up. She said, girl, yeah, barely can speak. But she still, I admire that about Kim. Kim was in so much pain. I really had to Google what kind of cancer that was. I know now. Kim was in so much pain, and Lord knows only how long she been in that type of pain. But she still was in her right mind. It's just so much stuff we were reminiscing on. And then when the nurses come in, she was still getting on their butt, you know. I just admired it about her because she was so strong. But I brought that up. She said, girl, yeah, I still think about that too. You know, because that's just something we had. It was so funny. But anyway, let me get back to the story, y'all, because I think I done messed up. But I've gotten better oh, Lord. Okay, y'all, I'm a fan. We gonna get it together. Okay, I'm back at it. So I left off at me and my friend and cousin, then Kim Oliver, were planning to skip school again. I was at her house waiting for her to get ready because she never was ready. Even in the 8th grade, Kim was the only girl wearing makeup. I didn't really get into her and stuff till probably 9th grade. And she was already wearing makeup. Just grown before her time. Old soul, I'm going to say that. So she wasn't ready. Never when I go to pick her up to skip school, she wasn't never ready. So someone or somebody snitched on me. I don't know who called my dad. Let me just get back to the story. Okay, I still remember today. Oh, crap, y'all, I'm sorry. I was at her house waiting for her to get ready. Somebody snitched on me. My dad knocked on that door. I opened the door not knowing it was him. Because Kim was in the back. She was still getting ready. My eyes were so big. Yeah. I still remember today how shook and stupid I must have looked. He probably hit me with the belt 5 times at the most, you know, and it wasn't even hard as I walked out the door. But y'all, that wasn't a real whooping. My daddy was barely tapping me. I was so embarrassed and shook. That was punishment enough. To my dad, none of us is perfect. You are the best in my eyes. My stepmom Betty had a big hand in raising me as well. Her and my dad have been together 48 years, married 43 years, since 1983. I called to ask my stepmom that too. She didn't know why, but now you know why. I used to love going over Mama Dear. That's my stepmom, mom. I used to love going over Mama Dear, my stepmom Betty, mother, home on a road called Rabbit Ridge. Laugh out loud. I know we had some roads. She had and has 7 sisters and 3 brothers. Jerry Ellis, Grant Ellis, I love them all. I didn't know my late Uncle Jerry Ellis, but I do remember when my stepmom Betty or my dad would take me over Aunt Mozella's house. At the time, she was married to the late Uncle Shot. They had one daughter. Her nickname was Treetop. When I tell you, Treetop had a dream playroom for girls in a bedroom, I used to love going over Treehouse. When I think back on Treetop and my baby sister, Nikita Washington Malone, a.k.a. Tootie or Toot Toot, bedrooms, not in a jealous way, but I look back on my childhood and realize I never had a decorated child's room. But I remember as a child wanting that. And it makes me sad to this day. But I'm happy I experienced it with them. I do recall one time when my stepmom Betty wanted to adopt me. After my mom got out of the army, she abused drugs. So I was back and forth and a lot growing up. I know everybody did the best for me. Before my little big sister Nikita Washington was born, I call her that because she do act older than me. My inner child just love to come out. I call her that because she really acts like, see, I don't even have to say nothing. If I just keep going, y'all. I call her that because she really acts like a big sister. Before my little, okay, but I have another sister, Angela Washington. Her mom's name is Maggie Wells. They are from Olive Branch, Mississippi, but eventually moved to the city, Memphis, Tennessee, in an area called the Sub, off of Shelby Drive in Getwell. In my early teens, I would spend the weekend with my sister, and we had a time where I met a lot of friends from that area. And we still see or talk to each other from time to time. Her friends, I'm saying, even as adults. My sister would visit me and my dad in Mississippi as well. We both had a great relationship with our stepmom. She let us puff a cigarette one time, laugh aloud. As a child, that was funny. She watches horror movies with us. My stepmom Betty didn't smoke, by the way. They was one of my daddy's cigarettes. She probably don't even remember. But you know, as a kid, you don't remember stuff you probably shouldn't. And she let us post something very funny. She watches horror movies too. We used to love watching movies with her. She bought us nice things, let us go on dates when we were old enough. Everything my stepmom to this day was not a strict parent. She's still not a strict parent. She still let her grandkids get away with stuff. So, Chris and Tootie, oh well. Let's see, it's not strict parent. She isn't one of those adults that forget they used to be young once. Also, she lets you live your life, but guides you. It's up to you to get the lessons she teaches. I remember one particular time she took me to get my first bank account and showed me how to write checks and try to save money. I didn't listen, but she tried. I also have a story for her. I never told anyone before. Well, I just told my oldest and only daughter, Sharonika Danielle Hill, my best friend this year, 2025, to this year, 2025. I was very young. I don't remember the age, but she was getting ready for work, ironing her clothes while she was working at Cleo Ralph. That's where they made Christmas wrapping paper. We didn't have to buy that item for many years. She was getting it for free. But she asked me to get something off of her Chester drawer. I had to climb up the steps. She had some step stool by there to reach it. But when I got up there, I got what she needed, but I saw a revolver handgun. It scared me a little bit because I wasn't used to seeing guns. I came back down and went to my room. When she left, I got curious and bored. I was alone, but old enough to be alone. I probably was around 12, 13, I don't know. I got back up the steps to get a closer look at the gun. My stepmom is a wise lady. She knew to move that gun. It was gone. I still remember that day, and I'm glad she moved it. Who knows what would have happened? I was never a bad person. I just made bad decisions. My mom's other sister, Idea Anthony, and her kids, my cousins, Willie Jr. Anthony, a.k.a. Poochie, Patrick Anthony, a.k.a. Pat, Tangela Anthony, a.k.a. Toot, and Eric Anthony, a.k.a. I call him E. Things were a little better when they all came to live with us. I had company now. One thing, this was at my Mud Deal. I'm back over to Mud Deal, y'all. We got to get it edited, remember. One thing about my Mud Deal, she was tough. Back then, I didn't understand, but as an adult, I understand why. She came up in slavery. Everything was black and white. My Mud Deal graduated from college, married Booker T. Faulkner. I didn't know my granddad. They bought land and got a 4-bedroom, living room, kitchen den, and bathroom house built from the ground up. They had a small farm and gardens. That's a big accomplishment for those days. She learned to be tough. I had to put some respect on her name. But however, when my cousins came to live with us, I was a young teen about to be a teenager. We had to get up at the crack of dawn to work in her garden. If we weren't hoeing the garden, we were planting vegetables. When they harvest, we were picking peas, corn, etc. And then shuffling. Baby, we had to work. We grew our food, but it was tough. She would make us cut the TV off at a certain time every night. We used to love watching Soul Train and the Dukes of Hazzard, among other shows. If Mother got up to use the bathroom, we knew it was over. Because as soon as she came back through, she hit the button to turn the TV off. We looked dumbfounded every night. Mother made us go to church as well. She belonged to Mount Gilead when it was in Watson, another small area in our small town in Bahia, Mississippi. I have to mention, back then that people went to church to hear the word, but I was young and knew we was going to church to hear them sing, not sing. Back then, St. Paul Church and a lot of other churches could sing as well. Mount Gilead was the best out of everybody. Sorry, not sorry. Back then, they had different choir concerts at church. They probably still do, but back then, man, that's what you went to church for. You really went to church concerts. I used to dream about being a choir director. Angela Dockery was the choir director at Mount Gilead. I have to put some respect on her name as well. She was awesome at what she did. The church choir was huge and awesome. Yeah, back then, man, was some folks at church. Woo! They had them churches rocking. It was huge and awesome. It was just something about controlling the different types of voices of everyone that I love. My mother could cook. She put too much black pepper on her food, but I guess I grew to love it. While others complain, I love spicy food and black pepper. To this day, amen. My cousin Tavy laughs at me about this to this day. But she made and had recipe books. Me and my cousin Toot used to have a cooking competition with each other. We all used to go fishing a lot. Me and my cousin Eric would get up early and go fishing to catch us some brims. Come back, scale them, gut them, fry them, and eat them. One thing about it, was that we grew up growing and catching our food. I never regret learning how to survive off God's free land. I was scared of worms. I still am. I fear worms, snakes, snails, and dogs. A lot of people don't know that about me. I would jump on a car, truck, house. I don't care how nice it is or how nice you think your dog is. To this day, people are quick to say, oh, he won't bite, or she won't bite. I just had a lady the other day do it. Oh, ma'am, please, get your dog. Oh, yeah. I tried to do DoorDash one day, and her dog ran out on me. I would come on the outside, but on the inside, my eyes were bugging. I was looking like, man, look, I'm scared of dog. Get your dog. And she was like, oh, he won't bite him. Baby, get your dog. Go. She ran him on back in the house. I felt much better. I could breathe. So, this day, people are quick to say, oh, he won't bite or she won't bite, or he or she is just a baby. Bull crap. If it has teeth, I'm not trusting it. Sorry, not sorry. I remember Mr. Bills used to have a store on wheels, a little delivery truck fixed up like a store, and he would go by people's houses every Wednesday. At least that's the day we would see him. Me and my cousin Toot would go on this truck to buy our snacks every Wednesday. We would go into this big hall closet where my doll house or toys would be and have our party every Wednesday. Every Wednesday, we had a party, y'all. I enjoyed my cousins living with us. I wasn't alone anymore in that big house with my mother. Even though my mom was back from the army, she was in and out of my life. My mom, Beverly Jean Faulkner, had 3 sisters. Aunt Ursula, she was married and moved from Cleveland, Ohio to now Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where she now resides for years. That's my bougie jazzy auntie. My Aunt Idea, she was married to my late Uncle Willie Anthony, who was my Uncle Perry Anthony brother. And my Aunt Let, she's a twin to their brother, my Uncle Paul Faulkner. He always have lived in Memphis, Tennessee. He owns his home HVAC company. She had and has 4 brothers, my late Uncle Booker T. Faulkner. He was married and always lived in Chicago. My late Uncle Lee Edward Faulkner, who lived in Cleveland, Ohio. My Uncle Lawrence Faulkner, whom he married my Aunt Betty Jean. They lived in Orange Mound area in Memphis, Tennessee. I got a lot of cousins on my mom's side and dad's side of the family. I love you all. Back to my Uncle Paul. I always respected him to how he took care of Madill, his mother. He was a role model on how to treat your mother. My Uncle Paul kept Madill with nice up-to-date things. He bought her first microwave, installed her new ceiling fans, bought her an up-to-date window air conditioner, etc. I respect that about him. When he came out to visit her, he would always hug and kiss me, telling me how pretty I was and ask me what I wanted to be when I grew up. I would always say a model. I can't lie. I used to regret that I didn't follow my dreams. I still wonder about it. But I'm blessed that I have TikTok. I don't get paid for it, but I get to live a little. All my uncles were great men, role models. I just remember my Uncle Paul the most. I was around 13 when my mom got better and remarried PLR. He bought us a trailer and we moved to Watson, closer to Holly Springs, Mississippi. Somebody told me the name of that road. I forgot to add it to this book and I don't forget the name of that road. But anyway, maybe by the time I publish it, I could call him back, one of my homeboys from out here. I went to 7th grade in Sims High School. Because I think Sims was in the high school. I don't know, y'all. I didn't stay very long before I moved back to Bahia with my grandmother Seal. Chili Mac was my boyfriend. He was so cute and still is. What up, my guy? I made a lot of good friends in a short amount of time. My mom was back on drugs. Now I'm back in Bahia Junior High, finishing 7th grade. Lord have mercy. Tony Akins was the first boy I kissed. He put his tongue in my mouth, and I didn't know what was going on. And then went and told everybody I can't kiss, but was supposed to be my boyfriend. In the 8th grade, I got my first real boyfriend. My first and only daughter's father. We're going to call him DH. Yes, I know it would be a crime nowadays, but it wasn't a crime in my day or beyond because he was much older than me. We were together for 5 years. I didn't get pregnant until I was 16, going on 17. DH and I have a lot of good memories. I will admit, I was young and learning life the hard way. I destroyed our relationship because of it. And because I was much younger than him, like some teenagers do, I was a kid. I loved his mom and dad, Mamie Hill, the late Mamie Hill, and Henry Hill, the late Henry Hill. His mom gave me the nickname Riri. I hate that name, and she knew it. Okay, I'm going to stop part 3 right there, and we're going to come back to part 4. I did a little better, y'all. Hopefully it get better and better. Thanks.